what is the difference between health coaching and functional medicine? And why would a client potentially choose to work with you over a functional medicine practitioner? This is a question I was just recently asked actually a couple of times by a few of my clients, and they found what I explained very, very helpful. So I want to share it with you as well. So I am Dr. Kristin Hartjes. I am a former chiropractor and functional medicine practitioner turned health coach, turned business coach, and I now work with health practitioners and coaches who want to build online coaching businesses. And I've been doing this for over a decade, and I've worked with hundreds of coaches, and I have the experience of being a functional medicine practitioner and a health coach. And I want to explain a bit about health coaching versus functional medicine and really the benefits of working with a coach versus a functional medicine practitioner, when someone should think about working with one versus the other. And I think this is very, very helpful to understand. Okay. So the thing about coaching that is different than functional medicine typically is that health coaching is really looking at all different areas of someone's life. Okay. So a lot of times we talk about like the circle of life or the different areas of our life that we look at. So it's looking at a truly holistic picture of someone's life. So that means looking at health, yes, which can include like sleep and how much water and food and movement and stress and all those things, looking at your finances, looking at your career, your family, your personal growth, your spirituality, your relationships, your recreation or fun or adventure. So it's really this mind, body, spirit approach. And we're taking this all into account when we are working with someone and when we are trying to support them. So specifically looking at like a health issue, right? We may be looking at the really holistic approach or the holistic picture of someone's life versus just looking at the health things or what we typically think is related to health, which may be more around like food, movement, sleep, all those things. So we are looking at, is there imbalances in other areas of someone's life? Most likely a functional medicine practitioner, they may ask about this. They may ask about it, but most likely they aren't going to be really diving into it and doing something about it. And so this is the difference with health coaching. We can really help them in these different areas of their life. Or if we don't feel qualified to help in one of these different areas that may be out of balance, we can refer them to someone who may be a better fit. So when I was working as a functional medicine practitioner, I often worked with people who had more complex, a lot of times digestive issues. And a lot of times they had already seen other health practitioners, and often they had already seen other holistic health practitioners, okay? And a lot of times they already had lab tests done. A lot of times functional lab tests where they may have been like stool tests, looking for parasites and imbalances in their bacteria, all those things, right? So I was working with people who already had done quite a bit of work. And what I found through the work that I was doing with people is that by really looking at all the different areas of their life that probably hadn't been looked at and getting really specific around food and paying attention to what foods people were reacting to, what foods worked for them versus what foods didn't, that I was able to help people with a lot of things that they hadn't gotten help with before, because we were really looking at the holistic picture. And what I was finding with the people that I was working with is that it didn't necessarily make sense to run a bunch of lab tests in the very beginning of me working with them. Sometimes they already had lab tests done, like I said, but other times there was things that we could work on changing and making shifts in their life before we would do the lab tests. Because if they were making the changes that we talked about, I would say 90% of people's symptoms would clear up, and then we wouldn't even have to do any functional lab tests to dig deeper to look at what is going on. But if someone isn't sleeping well, or they aren't moving their body, or they're eating, complete crap food, it doesn't make sense to run the lab tests right away, usually or typically, because a lot of times by making these simple changes in different areas of their life, it would change the lab values. Okay, so we're starting with making the changes that we can, and it may make their labs go back to normal, or a lot of their labs that may be abnormal will become normal by making these changes in these different areas of their life. Okay, or maybe they have a lot of stress going on. Maybe they're in a dysfunctional relationship, or they're in a job that they absolutely hate that's, killing them, right? Like, these things could be going on, and I want to look at the whole picture of what's going on and make the changes that I can before I run into making all these ordering all these lab tests, because a lot of times the results in a lot of the labs will clear up by making these other changes. And if I do all the lab tests right away, like, I don't really know, like, maybe these things might clear up by doing these other things. So it's not always the most cost effective or time effective by starting out with running lab tests, which is what a lot of functional medicine practitioners do. Okay, so as health coaches, we can really look at the holistic picture and help them make all of the changes that need to be made based off of just the information that we get from someone, as far as how these different areas of their life are, how healthy these different areas of their life are. Like I said, relationships, job, career, finances, like all of this stuff could be throwing their lab values off. So if I can help them make these changes right from the start, then what can happen is we make all these changes, we let some time go on, we see what's happening in their body. And if there's certain areas in their health that are still not improving, then I want to dive deeper with the lab tests. And either maybe you can run lab tests, or you can suggest lab tests that they can get done, or that they could have their health practitioner run, or you could help them find a functional medicine practitioner who could run these lab tests for them. Okay, so I find that that's often a better approach than running all the tests right from the beginning. So depending on the situation, right? Like, we want to see what someone has going on. If someone has something really extreme going on, obviously don't take that person as a client if you don't feel comfortable with it. But for a lot of people, like I said, a lot of the stuff that we do as a health coach will help clear up a lot of the imbalances that they may have in their labs, or would help us pinpoint where the issue is, because they may clear up a bunch of issues, and then maybe there's just one thing that's kind of persisting that will show up in their labs. But if someone comes to us and they're not sleeping well, and they're in a job that they hate, and they're in a relationship that is toxic, like all these different things, all of this stuff is going to be throwing all of their labs off if we went and we ran labs. So it's not going to really give us a good picture. And then we could go and we could be like, well, start eating healthier, and let me give you a bunch of supplements and stuff, where we're not really addressing the underlying causes that may be lifestyle factors that are causing the issues in the first place. It's kind of like going and giving, like, someone is depressed and we're giving them antidepressants, but we're not addressing the reasons why they're depressed. Maybe they're depressed because they have trauma, or because they have a dysfunctional relationship, or because they're hating their job and they're going to it every day and just struggling through it. Like, they may be depressed because of these certain reasons, but if we're just like, hey, I'm just going to give you this medication, which is kind of similar to like, hey, I'm just giving you these supplements because your labs are off, I'm not addressing what is causing the underlying issues. So we're really looking at the holistic approach. We're looking at everything that's going on in their life and really dealing with that. And then if we need to dive deeper with lab tests, we are going to do that, or recommend that someone does that and help them find the right person to do that for them. Okay. So those are really the big differences between coaching versus functional medicine, and really how I see that approach working from having experience working as both of those, a health coach and a functional medicine practitioner. So I'd love to hear from you. Have you found that helpful? Does that make sense to you? Does it really help you see the benefits and really the value and how powerful coaching can be? Because I believe it is really one of the most valuable things that people can invest in. So let me know if that helps with that in the comments below. Let me know your biggest aha from this. And if you found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you want more videos like this. I post new videos each week. And if you're interested in working together in building your coaching business and you want some support with doing that, I will link the application where you can find out more information about working with me below this video. And I want to thank you so much for joining me. I will see you next time.